Hello everyone, thanks for joining us here on Horizon. Well, for years, the sprawling African nation of Mali was one of the continent's best examples of a fledgling democracy, until earlier this year when a group of junior officers staged a coup. In the uncertainty that ensued, rebels with ties to al-Qaeda grabbed control of an enormous triangle of land about the size of Texas, creating what the U.S. State Department says is a powder keg for terrorist activity, even drawing a direct link between these rebel groups and the attack on the U.S. consulate in Libya that left the American ambassador and others dead. In 2007, I traveled to this West African nation to work on a State Department project, and what I found is now eerily prophetic.
It's the rhythm of an industry that goes back centuries. Workers beating the wrinkles out of traditional African cloth. One of the few jobs in this village just outside the Mali capital. Here, entire families work together, dyeing the fabric in a chemical stew that too often finds its way into the local water supply.
In each compound, you can see a traditional well, but this water may not be healthy.
A necessary risk to bring travelers and their currency to town.
Let me tell you that girls, even boys in this kind of area, face many challenges, social challenges. So they are vulnerable to HIV, prostitution, drugs, robbery, because you can see everyday's life is a struggle. They struggle to survive.
Asaman Alassane Megan knows something about poverty. University-trained English teacher, Asaman can make more money showing tourists the sights of his native land. A great job in Mali, considering 75% of Africans under the age of 30 are unemployed.
Because Mali is a country that the statistics tell us is surviving on a family income of $2 a day or less, there's a tremendous amount of poverty, which means malnutrition factors into the situation as well.
The head of a relief organization, Kierstead, has worked in West Africa for decades.
In Africa, the biggest challenge I think one can take as a continent as opposed to each individual country, it's bringing or helping to encourage the people to reach a standard of life where they can take care of basic things such as food, health care, nutrition, proper education, and a social environment that is nurturing as opposed to one that is in conflict all the time.
A former French colony, Mali gained its independence in 1960, only to suffer under dictatorship until a military coup in 1991 that led to free elections, creating a democracy in an area surrounded by unrest, civil war, and fundamentalism.
Now, Mali is really a focus country for the United States. It's a place where democracy is functioning.
Terence McCulley is U.S. Ambassador to Mali.
We look at Mali as a place that has underlying stability, that has had social peace, and that has moved forward in a very steady and successful way in consolidating democratic institutions.
Despite such social progress, Mali remains the third poorest nation in the world. With few natural resources, most in the countryside depend on subsistence agriculture, a difficult livelihood even in areas not covered by the Sahara Desert. In the city, life is also hard. Streets are crowded with people dressed in a disarray of secondhand Western clothes, trying to earn a living any way they can. Over the next 5 years, the U.S. will invest close to $500 million in Mali through the Millennium Challenge Corporation, a program designed to reduce poverty through economic growth, with more than half of the money to increase irrigated acreage.
There is no more important issue for Mali than agriculture. It's an economy which is largely, I think, 90% agriculture-based. It's a country which, if it's going to develop economically, needs to develop its agricultural sector.
And while the U.S. may well be the largest provider of foreign aid, we certainly aren't alone in trying to make inroads here. An Islamic nation, Mali has long been a meeting place of cultures, linking sub-Saharan Africa with the Arab-influenced countries of the desert.
While Mali is stable, you have a vast ungoverned space in the north, which has been a space where all kinds of bad guys have been operating, if you will, for hundreds of years. You've got cigarette smugglers, you have arms traffickers, you have human traffickers. And in recent years, there's been a terrorist group, which used to be called the GSPC, the Salafist Group for Preaching and Combat, which is in recent days rebranded itself as Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb, which has taken refuge in the north and is using it as a base of training and operations.
And while Mali has been spared the suicide bombings that have torn through neighboring countries, many fear a violent form of Islamism could spread here among the poorest of the poor.
In Africa, we used to say, an empty stomach doesn't have a brain. So they do not have a choice. Sometimes religious sects, or be it Christian or Muslim sects, tries to interfere or to get in these people. As if you can see this small girl, she doesn't know what is religion, but they try to cultivate in her this culture because she has no choice.
Making Mali's path to economic success surprisingly linked to our own national security.